order at 9:03.
Yep.
Roll call, please, or 9:33, thank you, 9:33. Roll call, please.
Markham,
Here.
Middleton,
Here.
Quarles,
Here.
McGillivray,
Here.
Powell, Miller, Long,
Here.
Cowell, here, Zach,
Here. We have a quorum, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to approve the minutes. Commissioner Colwell, supported by Commissioner McGillivray. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, say nay. Motion carries. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda. Commissioner McGillivray, supported by Commissioner Markham. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Do I have any public comment this morning? Okay, seeing no public comment, it's closed. First item on the agenda is communications. Do I have a motion for the communications? Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Quarles. Is there any question about any of these on the consent? Yes, Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah, I see a $18,000 expense for Tanner Fieldman, professional marketing. Do we have an explanation other than $1,526 for August and $4,125 month? Any explanations of that?
So from the county exec office on the Tanner, Hillary, would you be willing to address this question about the Tanner?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, when Executive Coulter was appointed in August, we contracted, because of the urgency of that period of time and the need to reassure county residents in terms of the transition to a new county executive, we contracted with Tanner Friedman to provide advice and counsel and outside public relations services. And so we have them on contract through the end of the year.
When we, like when Andy took over, changed treasurer from former treasurer, and I think also with the clerk's office, we assigned maybe like $5,000 for that transfer over. Is this why this was? I mean, they didn't hire public relations people to do it. I mean, it was for like change in stationery and things like that. Have you got additional costs of changing over that we're going to see?
No, we don't have any additional costs. And the idea was discussed about whether we wanted to establish a transition budget, but we hoped not to have to do that, and we declined that request. But this was the only thing specific to the transition that we needed to put in place.
Okay. And these dollars are already spent. We're just being made aware that, yeah.
Yes, they are.
So, okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Say nay. Motion carries. Next item is item number 1, management and budget approval of fiscal year 2019 deficit elimination plan. I need a motion, please, from Commissioner Colwell, support Commissioner McGillivray. Lynn?
Good morning. So this is the requirement by the state of Michigan to
present a deficit elimination plan for any funds that have a deficit for the fiscal year. This is a routine type item that we bring to the Finance Committee. The funds that are in deficit, there are two capital project related funds. One of them dealing with Chapter 4 drain, and one dealing with lake levels. So with the resolution, there is an attached letter that explains the deficit elimination plan. With the capital projects for the lake level funds, it's primarily two lake levels that have deficits that total around $95,000. That represents the deficit. It's Bush Lake Level, which has a long-term 10-year assessment. So the expense was incurred to make the repairs to the lake level structure, and that's a timing issue where we're collecting over a long period of time for the assessment. Upper Straits Lake Dam replacement, that's been on this report for several years now. They finally did get the approval from the Circuit Court to establish the district, and that will be going out for a long-term assessment, and they expect to issue either obtain a loan or issue bonds for the $700,000 needed to repair that. So right now it's in deficit because of preliminary costs that were incurred for that lake level. The other is the Chapter 4 construction, which currently has a deficit of $665,000, and that's primarily related to two Chapter 4 drainage districts. One of them being Lower Pettibone Lake, which implemented a 20-year long-term assessment to fix some drainage issues or sanitary sewer issues in their district. That currently has a deficit of $594,000. And the other one is a new one for Bald Eagle Lake. They had experienced some issues. Some residents made some inquiries and made some complaints to the Water Resources Commissioner's office. They looked at the infrastructure that was in place and deemed that there is a repair that's necessary. So they have some preliminary costs that impacted an initial deficit, and they're looking at doing a long-term loan, possibly 10 years, to make repairs to that district. So this is just more or less a timing issue, and we are required to file this with the state, and we will submit this with the state when we submit our CAFR in March.
Thank you. Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah, Commissioner Bullard, I think was instrumental in getting that lower Pettibone Lake.
And it works very well.
Does
We're
it?
paying a big payment every year back to the drain commission.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell, Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes. Motion carries. Next item, Lynn, you're up. Management and budget fiscal year 2019 year-end report and budget amendments. I need a motion, please. Commissioner Markham, Commissioner Quarles, support.
Okay, you should have all received a new copy of the entire packet last night, and it is available on the website. I will start on, I believe it's PDF page 83, that lists the table of contents for the item, listing the various, the transmittal letter, the resolution, and then the detailed explanations on the variances and so forth. So I will start on the transmittal letter, which is document page 2, PDF 84. So overall for 2019, we ended the fiscal year by adding roughly $14.1 million to fund balance. Now that is made up of significant expenditure favorability. Most of that $14.1 million is a result of, we do have $9.2 million of that has been requested to be carried forward for projects that were initiated or appropriated in 2019 that were not able to be completed. And in the resolution of the year-end report, that $9.2 million is being asked to be reappropriated for 2020. So after you take that $9.2 million out, we did have another $558,000 worth of outstanding purchase orders at the end of the fiscal year. That will be also reappropriated in 2020. We also did have some significant turnover favorability in personnel. So typically, over the last several years, we've had roughly anywhere between $9.5 million to $10.5 million in favorability with, for general fund, general purpose areas for personnel costs. That doesn't just represent vacancies, it also represents turnover, temporarily underfilling of positions. With 2019, there was roughly $12.5 million in favorability, and I think we're seeing some of that favorability come through as well because of competition with the private sector, other governmental entities for recruiting, and it does take some time to fill positions when you do have vacancies come into play. I can speak personally from just fiscal services. I know we've had a lot of turnover in the last several years, especially within our supervisory capacity within fiscal services, and again, so that adds to that favorability. So with revenue, we did have on PDF 84, we did have property tax favorability. Primarily, that's due to, we had a slight improvement of 0.35% over what our adopted budget. And it also has to do with the timing of collections related to property taxes. We did receive favorability from payment in lieu of taxes from the state, roughly $297,000. Federal grants, we've had favorability primarily due to Medicaid outreach revenue favorability. And we're looking at that. I think we did make some adjustments for 2020 with anticipation of some of that revenue coming in, and we'll continue to monitor that. We did have some state grant favorability regarding monies that we received from the State for Child Care Fund reimbursement. We had more favorability related to their administrative 10% reimbursement that they provide to us, and we did make some adjustments in 2020 to account for that. As far as intergovernmental revenue, I reported with the third quarter forecast in May of 2019. We did receive an excess distribution on the personal property tax loss reimbursement from the state, so that also added to the overall favorability. And we continue to have some favorability within charges for services in various entities, primarily the clerks and the treasurer's office, as well as the courts and the child care fund. The indirect cost favorability, I'm on page PDF 85. That indirect cost revenue favorability, with the indirect cost pool having larger salaries that have grown over the last couple of years, that recovery, the indirect cost recovery has gone up, and we did make some adjustments in 2020 to account for that additional revenue flow. The last large item is the investment income. So we have been experiencing favorable return on investment from the investments that the treasurer's office is making, and we did have a large market value adjustment that measures the market value of investments as of 9/30, and we are required to make that value adjustment. So one of the large investments that we hold in our portfolio that saw a significant increase is we hold the last series for the retiree healthcare bonds. The par value of that is $34 million. The market value as of 9/30 was $39.5 million. So that investment was very valuable at the end of 9/30, and that's just at a snapshot in time. So where did we end with expenditures? Overall, in comparison to the budget, we had $38.5 million in expenditure favorability. As stated previously, we had $12.5 million of that was related to personnel costs. About $18.2 million was contractual in nature, and as I stated previously, about $9.2 million of that is carry forwards and is going to be requested, is in the resolution to be requested to be reappropriated in 2020. And the last large one was about $7 million of operating transfer out favorability in the general fund. Typically, we have favorability from childcare fund operations. We budget for worst-case scenario with the childcare fund, and we only transfer the amount that it's required to provide funding for that operation. As noted on the transmittal letter, there were several departments that required an amendment with the end of 2019 to make sure that they stayed within the budget control category. Those three levels are personnel, operating, and internal support. Most of those areas were able to cover those shortfalls within the category within their own individual departments by taking it either from operating or internal support. Sheriff's Office was the largest one with approximately $1.2 million overtime shortfall within the jail operations. They did have contractual operating favorability. Many different line items that when you added it up would more than cover that. However, well, not necessarily more than cover most of it, but we did use some offsets with overtime reserve and revenue sharing, as well as public telephone commission revenue to offset that. Some other smaller ones, minor ones, were probate court, prosecuting attorney facilities, and the county executive. And those were primarily in internal support, just had to do with the overall allocation between those departments. Overall, internal services were not unfavorable. You can see those departments are named in the resolution, and the budget amendments are contained on document page number 12 and PDF page number 94 that shows the budget amendments that were made to cover those shortfalls. Also on PDF 86, it does again talk about the $9.2 million that's included in the resolution that is going to be reappropriated with the year-end resolution. The other things that we are continuing to monitor are the state budget issues that have yet to be resolved by the state. We were hopeful that the supplemental would be resolved in December. I mean, I guess there is still time. I'm not going to hold my breath to that, but we do have some fairly significant dollars that are on the table. One of them being about $1.7 million in jail reimbursement for the sheriff's office, another $700,000 for secondary road patrol, payment in lieu of taxes, roughly $600,000. So those are items that we continue to monitor and hope that the state does come through and issue that supplemental to shore up that funding. On PDF 87, that starts the beginning of the resolution that lists the various fund balance assignments for as of the end of the fiscal year, which includes restricted, non-spendable, and assigned fund balances. The resolution also contains amendments that were necessary for 2019 and does contain some amendments to move monies around for 2020. If you look towards the bottom of document page 5, PDF 87, the third whereas from the bottom, that's where you'll see the $9.2 million in carry forward requests for the general fund. And if you look at PDF 84, you will see the fund balance assignments that were requested during the budget process in September. So you will see roughly just halfway through the page, there's a $637,000 for the Board of Commissioners fund balance assignment. There was a request to add $600,000. There was an existing balance of $37,000. So that $600,000 assignment was factored into the year-end report when we close the books. Several whereases down, you'll see the $300,000 that was for the high school hydration stations. And the last whereas on the page includes the $100,000 that was for targeted health services that the Board of Commissioners requested. On PDF page 91 of the resolution, in a resolved paragraph, second from the bottom, you'll see that's where the roughly $558,000 worth of encumbrances is listed. And the encumbrances by department and division are listed in PDF 108 of your packet. Then we get into, on page 92, the individual carry forwards by department are listed. Again, it's $9.2 million. There's a separate line item, just to give you order of magnitude, roughly $286,000 is for health, $225,000 for the county executive, $583,000 is for economic development. Courts, about $240,000. 52nd District Court, about just over $10,000. The Board of Commissioners had several carry forward requests that totaled around $720,000. The Sheriff's Office had $535,000 worth of carry forward requests. Treasurer's Office, $109,000. Corporation Counsel, $9,100. HR had about $629,000. Medical examiners, $9,000. And then the general fund non-departmental did have some significant carry forward requests to the tune of around $5.8 million. And that's primarily broken out into a couple of areas. One was the salary adjustment reserve that was factored in for the implementation of the compensation study that was expected to occur in 2019. It's being requested that that be carried forward and reappropriated in 20 to help with that funding, the compensation, and those discussions are ongoing with administration as we look at funding options for that plan. There was a request for, it was included in the appropriation for 2019 for the drain office. We cover a portion of the assessments that relate to local roads. And there was a project that was slated to occur, I think, for the Wilmot Drain that was expected to occur in 2019. It's a timing issue and it will happen in 2020, so we're requesting that to be carried forward. The juvenile resentencing is an ongoing item that was established, I want to say 3 years ago. It's been a slow process to bring those cases up. I think there's 40 plus cases still to be reviewed, so that's 1.1 million. And then there's also the tri-party for allocations that were made that were not yet brought before the Board of Commissioners. If you refer to PDF 110 of your packet, which is document page 28, that is where you will see the listing of assigned fund balance, or the makeup of the total fund balance for the general fund. You'll see the first portion of the non-spendable portion for prepaids and inventories of around $246,000. The restricted amount that deals with the land sale fund activity, 2 years are required to be restricted. That totals around $9.7 million. And then there are about $248 million worth of assignments that are made. Now, these are assignments that it requires a Board of Commissioner resolution in order to utilize any of these dollars. So in order for anything to be used from here, you will see a resolution that has to come before the board to take action on that and to appropriate those dollars. On PDF page 111, that just highlights the summary by department for general fund, general purpose operations of the overall budget to actual results for the fiscal year. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anybody have any questions? Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just trying to get to, I have something highlighted, but I think I had the resolution in here twice, so I'm trying to get back to where I had highlighted some things. Okay, so what you're saying though is like where I see the Oakland County Health Division does not currently provide comprehensive healthcare services within the county clinics, and $4 million is assigned for preventive health services. There will be a separate resolution that will come.
That's correct.
For all of these things. The environmental sustainability, workforce development, whereas the county is reviewing its overall economic development model, and $1 million is assigned for the economic strategy implementation. So there's a lot of things in here that I was questioning, but they will all require,
Any fund balance assignments will require a
Right.
separate resolution.
okay. I think that's all I have to say.
Okay, next I have Commissioner Long and then Commissioner Middleton.
Well, I'm Commissioner Cowell, kind of asked a couple of them, but, so who added those earmarked $4 million for preventative health services?
So that was a request that came up through the administration in looking at the overall assignments, and they made an update to that.
And then also for the other one for $500,000 to address family planning
So
services?
that is not a fund balance assignment, that is an actual appropriation to make for 2000. So that one does actually say where a budget amendment is recommended for 2020 to appropriate $500,000 within the health division.
So we're doing family care, we're doing, we're getting into family planning services again, correct?
Well, Kathy's here from the
Sounds
health,
like it.
health
We got-
division, and Rudy, if they want to speak to
We got rid of it when I
that.
was here 17 years ago. We refined it, I guess I should say, referred people, but now it sounds like we're getting back into services.
Well, this is really a long-term plan to expand the services and the partnership that we have with Honor Health to bring some comprehensive services under our roof, but not necessarily into the health division per se. It would not be health division staff providing services, but it is a missed opportunity when we have the number of high-risk individuals that come through our clinics, both WIC and our clinic services, that we can't connect them to other services that are desperately needed in this population. And when we refer them outside, it's really hit or miss whether or not they can actually connect to those services due to transportation needs, et cetera. But the $500,000 is to provide a stopgap measure. Prior to now, Planned Parenthood did provide Title X services for low-income women who were seeking services in terms of women's health, overall women's health. And they couldn't, if they couldn't pay for services, this was an opportunity. But now that is those dollars are being taken up by Honor, and it is going to be a while for Honor Community Health to ramp up for that. One of the things that you should know is the health division or health departments across the state may or may not receive Title $10. That's up to the health department to make that decision. And there are many reasons why they may or may not engage with those services, but we are required to assure that those services are provided in the community. So when we have an accreditation visit, as we will have this summer, one of the things that we spend some time doing with the state investigators is talk about how are family planning services delivered in Oakland County. Well, we have pretty much received a pass in the past by saying that, you know, the Title $10 are coming through Planned Parenthood. They serve X amount of clients, and there are a few other providers in the community that provide limited services in that regard as well. Well, now that there's a change in Title $10 and in Honor, our community health will not be fully ramped up as of this summer, we are going to have to explain how we are assuring that these services are going to still be available in the community. We don't know what the gap is going to look like, but this is $500,000 that would be available. It's a not to exceed, but it's an available for reimbursement for those family planning services that are in expectation that are delivered in each county.
Okay, but Kathy, if you say we're not gonna provide the services, they're still gonna need transportation. So the transportation, if we're just referring or we're giving $500,000 to refer to Planned Parenthood, and we're not gonna perform the services, they're still gonna need transportation. If that's what you're saying.
It's just to
So the
continue.
you know what I'm saying is, she's saying the transportation's an issue if people come in there at high risk or we're missing people. If we're not doing services there, then we're still, so that argument doesn't hold up because they're still gonna need to be transported somewhere else.
So I think it's important to note, I'm sorry, good morning, Rudy Hobbs from the Executive's Office. I think it's important to note that this is a up to and a reimbursement, model. So these are people who have come through Planned Parenthood or the preferred provider, and was now seeking reimbursement for the services they provided. So this is not a check that's gonna go to any provider, and 500,000. A person actually has to be seen by that provider, and then they're able to seek reimbursement from the county for the services they already provide. So at that point, to your transportation concern, they would have already found transportation, one. Two, seek the services were provided, then they come back to the county. So I just wanted to be clear that this is an up to and a seek reimbursement.
Okay, Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah, and you talk about 500,000, the resolution talks about 4 million.
There's
Two different things.
two different items.
4.5 million now.
Okay. That was my question, is it 500,000 or is it 4 million?
500,000 is for the reimbursement for these family planning services.
Okay, for Planned Parenthood,
Correct.
okay.
The $4 million is an assignment, and that funding requires an appropriation through a resolution. The $500,000, the resolution speaks to where it's requesting a budget amendment. So that's how you can tell within the resolution. If it says a budget amendment is recommended, we're actually asking, the resolution is requesting an appropriation. If it says it's an assignment, then a resolution has to be brought forward, back forward to the board for consideration.
So this is gonna come as a budget amendment, and when we vote on this, we amend the budget? to
For the
take-
500,000, when you vote on this, you're appropriating the 500. The $4 million, again, is a separate assignment that requires a separate resolution.
Okay, I'm done.
Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel like we're making policy decisions through the budgeting process here, instead of, separating them out and doing policy. Through all our budget hearings that I've been through the many years, when we're going through the budget hearings, we've tried to stick just to the budget. But here, we're enacting policy through the budget process. And I would rather see those processes be more transparent and come through separately, rather than discussing them as we're getting ready to pass budget amendments. Thank you.
I'd like to address that matter. So, when we were doing budget hearings and voting on a budget, we didn't know that we had gaps in health services that we are going to be required to report on to the state at the time. And so these are needs that have come up. Certainly the $500,000 appropriation, to assure that we don't have a gap in services for our residents. And then the 4 million is a newer idea that frankly has been discussed, and as I understand, our health department put in for grant funding, we didn't get it, to do healthcare services for the indigent population. I know that some of the nurses have been talking to me about, on the south end, that we need medical services, we need mental health here. This is not a new idea. So we didn't get grant funding before, And now we're looking at how can we realistically provide an integrated healthcare model, and in conjunction with Honor Health. And Honor Health is a federally qualified health plan that is housed in many of our mental health providers like Easter Seals, Oakland Family Services,
Children's Village.
Children's Village, to provide wonderful health care. And so what we're doing, in this idea, and you know, it's in conception, that's why it's unassigned, and we're not funding it, the resolution, the whole concept, the build-out is not ready for us to be voting on as part of the budget. We're gonna see that hopefully in January, the details, and then we can address the resolution in whole. All we're doing is just an idea of unassigned fund balance, you know, for future discussion within that. And this is a very common thing that we've done historically in our budget. Commissioner Long.
Okay, but the $500,000 one is assigned, and it could have went through the Healthy Committees, Community Committee, for everyone to weigh in on it and stuff, so that should, so now therefore I have to vote no on the whole thing. That is assigned, they just said it's
It's
assigned.
not assigned, it's an appropriation. The 500,000 is an appropriation. The others are assigned. This says it's a budget amendment, meaning it's for appropriation.
But that's not gonna come back to us.
No, that will not.
500,000. Correct, so it could have went through.
Well, I just wanted clarification
Right.
on the assign. It's
Well, I might have
assigned.
used the wrong word, but it's not coming back to this committee, it's gonna be spent, and it never went to another liaison committee. So that's true. So, okay, I just have to vote no on the whole item.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, call the roll.
Middleton?
No.
Quarles? Yes. McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Long?
No.
Koa? Markham?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
5 yeas and 3 nays.
Motion carries. Next item is number 3, management and budget, changes to fiscal year 2019 apportionment of local tax rates. I need a motion. Commissioner Powell, I need support. Commissioner Markham.
Hello. This is a typical process where we come back with late elections and recommend changes to the apportionment report that was adopted in October. There's 3 recommended changes. 2 school districts that took their non-principal residents back up to the 18 mills, and Milford requested an adjustment to their debt levy. I'll take questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm passing around a piece of paper that came from our staff on the subject of Schoolcraft College, which we looked at once before and decided we did not want to support their proposal to support their millage as they understood it, because we wanted to be consistent with what Wayne County had done. But now we're saying, now Wayne County has voted in favor of supporting Schoolcraft's position, and since we are such a small piece of Schoolcraft, I would like to propose that we amend this report to reflect the Schoolcraft position. And it would delete their 27.48% millage rate and replace it with 28.52%. And the reason for this is because the language in the millage was understood to reflect that there would not be declines every year in the millage typically. And so that was the question. Now Wayne County has come out and said they agree that that language should be supported. I would like to propose that we go along with Wayne County because we are this much of this millage and they are this much of this millage. So that's the proposal I'm passing
Do I
around.
have a support for the amendment? Commissioner Cole? Any discussion on the amendment?
Well, guess what is, equal, what do you guys think about it?
Our position has not changed. We don't think that the ballot language is supported by our corporation council opinion, our opinion, or any of the three equalization directors of the three counties that have Schoolcraft. My understanding is correct. I did hear from the Wayne County Equalization Director, their Board of Commissioners, that they did reconsider their position on Schoolcraft, and it's my understanding that they did not require the rollback at November 21. I'm sure the folks from Schoolcraft could verify that. Washtenaw County, however, it's my understanding from talking to their equalization director, they adopted the same rate that we recommended, and so there will be inconsistency regardless, whether you pass this amendment or not. We feel that we're following the statute appropriately. Obviously, as talked about in October, there's a difference of opinion that we've already hashed all that out, so, I mean, it's just, and my take, it comes down to the votes.
One more thing, just one more thing.
Sure.
Then, if, since Wayne County, and then if we do this, there won't be a lawsuit either way, or will you, you don't know?
I won't be suing anyone.
I just wanted, because there was talk of a lawsuit, so, okay.
Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little confused. I received letters, emails, probably some to everyone on the committee, all the commissioners on the committee. And if I'm interpreting one of the last ones I read, our corp counsel said that there is a conflict within this. Could we have them discuss that? I just want to know what I'm voting on. Is anyone here?
out there? There she goes.
Here's our corp counsel.
I just want to be clear that on what's taking place.
One other point while Bill gets his stuff ready to address the question. I don't know that the school district itself, the Schoolcraft Community College has adopted a resolution for that rate or not. I know that they did sign a 4029 kind of in protest that they didn't want to do that, but what we're recommending is the rate that it appears that they passed at their board.
And if I could add to that while getting ready, I'm certainly supportive of education and to ensure that they have the right funding to do what they need to do. But I'm a little hesitant on voting something that I don't truly understand. And so that's what the genesis of my question.
Bill, they're asking the legality of the doing one vote to eliminate the Headley rollback over a 10-year period.
Yeah, and I think we addressed that before, but the short answer is the statute that implements the Headley Amendment specifically calls for a vote each year that the voters or municipality seeks to override the rollback. And, you know, the statute is clear on its face. And I think the inquiry really, in a nutshell, begins and ends there.
Oh, you still have the floor.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Quarles.
Madam Chair, has there been any Attorney General's opinion on this? Has anything been put in place or reviewed?
No, there's apparently no case law on it. There's no
No.
Attorney General opinion on it.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mark.
I just want to make one point about a comment you made about Washtenaw County. The Board of Commissioners has had some conversation with us and said that they would want to be consistent with Wayne, and if we are consistent with Wayne, they will go along with it.
Okay.
So there won't be a conflict.
Commissioner Long. then
Okay,
McGillivray.
I just have a clarification, because we have this coming up at Parks Commission also. So if this, on the ballot would say 1 year, but then they can have their millage for 10 years, but only Headley override was 1 year, that, in your opinion, would be okay? Cause if they had it in their proposal saying we're gonna have the override for 1 year only, but then the rest of it, 9 years, goes with not overriding. That in your opinion is legal.
Yeah, certainly they could vote for the override for any given year, and if they wanted to do it the first year, fine. But then if they wanted to do it a second, third year.
Your
they'd
opinion is
come
you have to go
each
back
year.
out and put that on the ballot every time.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That helps me for
Okay,
purpose.
Commissioner McGilvray.
I guess my question would be, what happens next? If we were to approve this, then the lawsuit, the possible lawsuit goes away. If we don't approve this, will there be an Attorney General's opinion on this that might change this?
Well, if the Board of Commissioners adopts a rate that we don't feel is an appropriate rate, I believe it's my obligation to let the State Tax Commission know, which is a branch of the Department of Treasury, that we have a rate that was approved that violates Headley in our opinion. And what Treasury or the State Tax Commission does with that, I don't know. It could be foreseeable that they would refer this to their AG and have them look at it. And keep in mind, just from the reality of this is Schoolcraft has already levied the lower rate in July. So what would happen is if you vote to increase the rate, we would have to modify the rate in collection for July of 2020 to adjust for the shortfall and the reduced rate for this year. So I don't know if that would get sorted out from an AG or if they're gonna sue or what they're gonna do. I can't answer that portion of it, but I will let Treasury know and feel like I've done my obligation for my certification and move on to the next projects we have at equalization.
Commissioner Powell.
Can I, same question that Gary, but can we hear from Schoolcraft attorneys, please?
Please come up.
So he explained the process at least up to the state, so if it goes what he's predicting, like, I wanna hear your side.
Sure, so I'd like to address a couple of things, including that and the process here. First off, Kevin on behalf of Schoolcraft Community College, thank you again for taking this issue up. It's very important to us. So the way the process that we envision it playing out is fairly similar. The levy can get, if there's time, it could go on the winter assessment, the additional collection for the shortfall for 2019. And we're talking a couple dollars per household really at that point. It's not a significant number. The problem that Schoolcraft has with Headley is that it has a compounding effect. So over the course of a 10-year period, it creates a multi-million-dollar issue for the school. And that's separate from what was originally forecasted when we put the ballot proposal together and had the voters approve on that. And then I heard a comment about the 429 form that Schoolcraft filled out and how it had the original equalization department's recommended rate on that. Well, that was almost like a hostage negotiation for the school. They were told that if you don't put on this number, then you get zero. And that's a significant hit. So there was a reservation of rights letter. I don't think it came from from you. I think it came from
Thank
Wayne
you.
County, is my understanding.
Thank you,
right?
because
So-
we were
yeah.
about ready to object.
Yeah, no. So I don't want to disparage you on that. That came from another county, obviously the one that had a bigger number for us. And so that's why it was under protest. We had a reservation of rights letter that went with that. And what happened in Wayne County after we had the most recent vote that did adopt Schoolcraft's position, they asked us to submit an amended 429 form that had the then corrected rate on it, so that for their files, they would have that with them. And the biggest thing that changed between our last vote here and Wayne County is Wayne County's Commission Council got involved, took an independent review of the law and the Constitution, and came out in favor of Schoolcraft's position. And so that's what happened in Wayne County, why Wayne County changed their vote, is because their own Commission Council, not their Corporation Council, got involved and had a separate opinion, fully adopting Schoolcraft's interpretation. And part of that is not having an annual vote requirement. And the annual vote requirement, it's not found in the Constitution. The Constitution actually says you can pass a millage for up to a 20-year period. That's the limitations that's put on by Constitution. the statutes can't abrogate or limit or nullify that 20-year period. That's an unconstitutional interpretation of a statute. So Schoolcraft did it for a 10-year period, smack dab in the middle. So that's why we believe that this is fully constitutional, fully supported under the Headley Amendment, setting aside the concept that we believe a lot of Headley is default subject to local voter control, because that's what the whole process was about, local voter control over local taxes. And since the voters approved it here, that it should also, we ask that the Finance Committee also approve it. Now, in terms of lawsuits in Washtenaw County, yes, Washtenaw County's next. We've had the same communications with Washtenaw that we've had with you. As Commissioner Markham referenced, where if Oakland County also changes its vote and is in favor of Schoolcraft, we believe Washtenaw will go the same route as well. They're an even smaller sliver than Oakland County, right? I think there may be 1 or 2% of the whole pie here at that. And then, if there's an issue at the state level, we'll address it. And we'll continue to address them and push for what we feel is right for the school and for the voters and, for education in this circumstance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Commissioner Middleton next.
Yeah. My understanding is the ballot language stated in there that it would not void the Headley override, but Headley override wouldn't come into play for the 10-year period.
That's correct.
Yeah. Who approves that ballot language?
I think it first goes to the city of Livonia to approve that, and then it goes through a separate process, since Schoolcraft is there in Livonia, so I believe it went to. I'm sorry, say that again?
I believe it's the authority approves their own ballot language, not the city of Livonia or any. We certainly don't have any of the cities approve our parks millage rate when we go for our parks millage or any other millages that I'm aware of. So the authority approves the ballot language.
Okay, so my senior partners told me we submit it to the clerk of Livonia, who then sends it to Wayne County. That was the process that was done.
And then it's on the ballot. So really, there wasn't a legal opinion of the ballot language when it was put on the ballot.
I wouldn't go that far. I wish I could, full candor, I wish I could. I don't know if they're looking at it from a truly legal standpoint when they're approving the language for what goes on it. So I don't want to overstep that or oversell what's being approved or not approved there.
I was leaning with the ballot language there. I thought, well, maybe. But if anybody can, any authority can write up the ballot language and present it to the people, but maybe if it's illegal, it's still, that doesn't change it just because it went to a countywide vote. Okay, I have a problem with it.
And if there is an issue with the ballot language, there's a process in place where anybody can challenge the ballot proposal, whether it's the AG, the county, any taxpayer, any person can challenge it, saying what was done in this ballot proposal is void, it's fraud, it's illegal. But you have 30 days from when the elections are certified to make that challenge. And so that's when, if you wanted to, yeah, that time period's well gone. So if you wanted to take a red pen to just part of the proposal, that's the process, right? You have 30 days after the election gets certified to take the red pen.
Any other questions, Commissioner Kowal?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, okay, this was approved for, at least for this first year. So if we go with the millage rate that was approved by the voters for now, I mean, then if there's gonna be discussions, if there's gonna be AG opinions and whatnot that's going on after this, I think, for now, I'm in favor of approving what the voters voted for. And I'd just like to point out too, there's currently a Municipal Partnership Act bill in front of the legislature that skirts the Headley Amendment. So, if you've read that yet, it's like not having that millage count towards anybody's Headley limit. So it's a different way around it. anyway, I just, I think that that window of opportunity to protest this, the 30 days, came and went a long time ago. And if something gets decided by the AG or whoever in going forward, then we can come back and take corrective measures then.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, call the roll.
On the amendment, McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Miller, is absent, Long,
No.
Cowell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
No.
Quarles,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
6 yeas, 2 nays.
Amendment carries. Roll call on the resolution as amended.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Motion yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4, Corporation Council Interlocal Agreement for Mandated Michigan Indigent Defense Commission Standard 4, Council at First Appearance and Other Critical Stages. And we have Mary Ann Jerk.
Thank you. The Michigan Indigent Defense Commission has
Oh, wait,
mandated.
excuse me. I need a motion, please. Commissioner Kowal and Commissioner Markham support. Forgive me. Go.
Thank you. The Michigan Indigent Defense Commission has mandated that the indigent defendants have the constitutional right to counsel at arraignments. This has presented some unique challenges in the arraignments that take place in the jail. We do, on average, about 12,000 arraignments in the Oakland County Jail through our Oak Video system to all the district courts in the county and the circuit court, and including our own funded 52nd District Courts. So we have collaborated with all the district courts in the county so that we centralize the appointment of these arraignment-only attorneys that will appear in the jail to represent defendants. Because it's obviously more efficient to have it, we handle the weekend arraignments, the 52nd District Courts. We have arraignments 7 days a week, 12,000 a year on average. And so this interlocal allows us to take the responsibility from all the district courts and handle the appointments, the payment of those arraignment-only attorneys that will appear in the jail. Now, this project is dependent on a big construction project in the jail. We're revamping the arraignment-only attorney room and the Oak Video system in the jail to accommodate the appearance of attorneys at arraignments. That is on pace to be finished mid to late February. So this program will start the first week of March. That is the plan.
Do I have any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 5, Miss Michelle Williams versus Eric Doherty. And I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Middleton with Commissioner McGillivray supporting. Okay, call the roll.
Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell,
Is this to go into closed session?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Okay, thanks.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes. Motion carries, and we are going into closed session.
I love her, yeah, I love to hear what she says.
That's good.
Okay, so I need a motion by somebody to be authorized to proceed in accordance with the directives discussed in closed session. Commissioner
Do we need
McGilvray,
to go out of closed, or is this making us out of closed?
She declared we're out of.
we declare we're out of closed session, and I have support from Commissioner Kowal. And so, roll call.
Okay. Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, we have some new business to come before us. Commissioner Markham?
Yes, this is a little bit loose right now, but getting firmer all along. The project to buy trees in 2020, 20,000 trees, some for the bicentennial and so on. We're putting a committee together to make that happen. I got asked to, chair it, and I asked Chris and Angie to be part of that. There is a committee of our staff that have been pulling together the details of how this will roll out. And so, help me out here, Mike.
So if you remember back in September, we approved the General Appropriations Act. Within that act, you had roughly $600,000 that were for various board projects, assigning fund balance. Within the year-end report that we just approved today, that approves those funds to come forward as assigned fund balance. So at that time with the general appropriations, it was, we identified this money, now we're assigning fund balance, so it's actually on the books. In another resolution that will probably be forth here very shortly, it'll actually appropriate the funds into the departmental budget. And I think we've identified it as $75,000 back
Up to,
in
yeah.
September, up to 75,000. So, in speaking with Fiscal Services just this morning, they have instructed or notified us that there is some favorability within the departmental budget due to the auditor and the charges that we're getting from them, where we're saving some money that could be utilized for kickstarting this this initiative of purchasing trees, getting trees out to the community and everything like that. So within that overall aspect of working with various board one-time initiatives and this project that was identified, we could start in a more formal process and going like we've done in the past with the school drinking water, local road improvement, setting up a subcommittee where then you and commissioners would start approving any kind of action that we would take and having more bipartisan approval of things that come through. So what I guess I'm requesting or advising Commissioner Markham, who has approached us to say, okay, let's start moving this project along, because come April, even though we know it's December now, we haven't even hit the holiday season, but April's gonna be on us pretty fast, and there's gonna be some things that we would need to do to not only get the trees and have that subcommittee approve, hey, these are the people that we will work with, partner with to purchase the trees, but also how we would distribute it and stuff like that. So there is a project team within the board staff that is going to be working to hammer out those details, and we would like to present that to that subcommittee so that they can be a part of this decision, and instead of just working with it and then throwing it back out there. So again, we've been working with Commissioner Markham, and I guess what I would need from you, or at least I can advise that in the past with like the local road and the school drinking water station and everything like that, when you set up a subcommittee, it's by committee action based upon the board rules. So Commissioner Zach would just say, I'm appointing these 3 individuals to head up that subcommittee, and then we would start working from there to formulate that plan and get it in front of you.
If we meet, it'll be before or after
In addition to that, we would also present a communication to the full board. And within that, so I would just I have some fill in blanks, not only with the commissioner names that I think were just hammered out now, or they were in the talks but got finalized just now, but also the name of this subcommittee, which we can work to address, but like a bicentennial tree or a tree or something along those lines where we can start getting Pam to work on, the packets and everything like that, so that delaying this process is now of essence that we start working on this stuff. So that's my,
So I officially appoint is there any discussion about this idea and process? And so the people that we want appointed, we have 3 volunteers here. We have Commissioner Markham, Commissioner
Powell.
Powell?
Powell.
And?
Long.
Long.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
He's
No, we have 2. Okay, do we need to have a vote on this?
no, you just officially, you
I'm
just appointed.
I'm appointing it.
I will probably,
Okay.
I'll give you some lead notice that we are working on a resolution to actually make that appropriation for next week. So if the chair decides to call a special meeting of finance, then we will present that to you at that time so that it can be approved by the board.
I would say that we do. Yes, I'm officially appointing, and we will have a quick finance committee meeting so we can start the process. Okay, we will have a quick finance committee meeting before the next board, just
Yeah.
for a vote on this, and then,
Because we
and
gotta
then,
start ordering trees.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
what? Okay, what do we wanna name it? The tree committee, or what do you wanna call it?
Come back to that, can you give me a couple days?
Yeah, we gotta come
Think
with
about
something cute.
it.
Something clever.
Just start her email so we can start.
Because I
thinking
gotta put it
about
in the record, you know what I mean? That she
Oh.
appointed.
Okay, well,
We
right
can
now,
change it, we can change it.
20,000 oaks. To the bicentennial.
Bicentennial, what?
20,000 oaks.
Okay,
20,000 oaks.
Just put, 20, we can make it.
Okay.
right now, you can
amend
change it.
It's better than-
Okay, any other,
What the heck did these people do at the
and any other business to come before finance? Seeing none, finance is adjourned.